Hello and welcome to another edition of Big Guns, where we look into the life and times of some of the biggest names in the real estate business. This week, the company in focus is a brand that's over a century old. You will perhaps find a hint of this brand in every Indian household today. Trust, quality, and solid customer recall. This brand is an institution in itself. And when such a company gets into the business of building homes for every Indian, their patronage over the market is hard to challenge. We're talking about Godrej Properties. Nikhil Sivdas chronicles the growth of the youngest company in the Godrej Group.
The year was 1991. After decades of economic isolation, India finally opened up its economy and new opportunities arose in every sector. For the 100-year-old Godrej Group, one opportunity immediately came into mind.
We've always had a large plot of land in Vikhroli, where our main factories have been for decades. And when the economy started opening up in the 90s, we felt there would be a good opportunity as the economy opens up to develop our property in Vikhroli.
It all started with Godrej converting some of the godowns into office space, which were leased out. What happened thereafter was that a lot of multinationals wanted to rent those offices, which happened, and therefore it attracted big names like even McKinsey's, to rent place there. That was the starting point of the property business for Godrej, as I understand it.
That may have been the beginning of the journey for Godrej Properties, but it was not without its share of problems. The Godrej Group is Mumbai's biggest landowner, holding nearly 3,500 acres of property in Vikhroli. Most people would consider that to have been a gold mine that could have been utilized to transform Godrej into a realty powerhouse. However, restricted government policies put an end to that ambition.
Permissions for real estate development are being delayed, were being delayed. There was the Urban Land Ceiling Act, which prevented property from being developed. It gradually was removed in different states. Unfortunately, in the state of Maharashtra, it was removed only a few years ago. Most importantly, we do not wish to interact a lot with the government. And unfortunately, in the real estate business, you need to interact with the government.
Eventually, the restrictions started lifting, and the company quickly grew to become a real estate player of repute. In 2010, Godrej Properties successfully went public, becoming one of the youngest real estate developers to go the IPO route. Today, it has gained the reputation of being one of the fastest growing real estate developers in the country, growing at a compounded annual growth rate of 30 to 40% every year. That's not all. With nearly 89.7 million square feet of prime real estate under development across 12 cities, Godrej Properties has also successfully built up a pan-India presence covering both the residential and commercial segments. In spite of being Mumbai's biggest landowner, Godrej Properties prefers to develop joint venture partnerships with landowners while outsourcing the construction work and raising finance from private equity investors. That's a tactic that allows them not to sink heavy investments into building land banks while enabling them to gauge the mood of the market.
I think it's a smart path. So, and maybe some of the developments are close to their developments. Maybe it's a good opportunity for them to test the markets. There's no harm going and doing a dipstick study in the same micro market where you happen to own some land, and therefore being able to launch your own project with much better understanding of the market conditions.
Much of the credit for these tactics go to the management style of the group. Key to this has been the company's willingness to bring in professionals from sectors other than real estate. No easy task considering the skepticism with which the sector is considered.
We are not restricting our entire hiring only to real estate today, and it's again a delightful feeling when you are going across talking to people from other sectors who had apprehensions in the past. Today they are looking forward to joining real estate, and largely driven by the kind of culture which we drive.
The drive to bring in talent from different sectors has enabled Godrej Properties to introduce some game-changing concepts to the realty sector. Their marketing and sales division, for instance, is already cooking up several innovative techniques targeted specifically at the NRI segment, which forms nearly 20% of Godrej Properties volumes.
To be able to provide a seamless customer experience to them, we have what we call IP calling, which is a free call which an NRI can expect from us after he logs in and shares his mobile telephone number. If we want to shoot at a height of 60 stories, the only option today is very basic technology available. Now we are evaluating something which is largely from the military to be able to allow us to get this kind of height photo shoots. So there's a lot of exciting programs that we at Godrej Properties are looking at.
This out-of-the-box approach is also reflected in the company's design philosophy. Talent from across the globe has been brought on board to develop innovative in-house design concepts under the GPL Design Studio tag.
About 12 months ago, we re-looked at design as a unique value proposition to our process, product, people. We decided to make GPL a design-led, design-focused company. What that means is use design to distinguish ourselves from our peers in the market. And in order to bring the sort of operations piece together with the value proposition, we restructured ourselves as the GPL Design Studio.
These unconventional strategies are what sets Godrej Properties apart from the rest of the pack. However, the trump card for the company still remains its brand name. In a sector that's normally associated with scams and black money, customers consider the Godrej brand as a clean and dependable group and flock to it in droves. The expectations from Godrej Properties are running high, and nowhere as much as from the chairman of the company, who has set the bar high indeed.
Overall group growth target is what we call 10 by 10, to be 10 times in 10 years, which is a compounded annual growth rate, including acquisitions, of 26%. In Godrej Properties, we expect to grow faster. The only limitations are financial and our ability to execute. So I feel we will grow much faster in the real estate business than in our other businesses.
Welcome everyone. Let's meet the young dynamic business leader who has the tall task of surpassing his legacy. Pirojsha Godrej, thank you very much for speaking to us. The first question, I think I'm going to go back a little bit in time and go back to your academic background.
Oh, wow.
Masters in International Relations, and you also worked as a private secretary in Ministry of External Affairs, went on to work with Hillary Clinton as well. So a lot of interest in politics, still retain it?
Well, first of all, great to be with you, Manisha. I think that's quite funny. It's a long time since I've been asked about those. To be perfectly honest, those were things I was doing, when I was getting my undergraduate and master's degrees as internships during the summer. I did have a sort of interest in international affairs and politics, which continues. But I must say, no active interest certainly in getting my own hands dirty in
Okay, no active interest, but right
or
now Indian politics is at a very interesting juncture, isn't it? And there's some bit of trepidation amongst businessmen in terms of what the election will throw up. What's your own prognosis? You think that the industry is waiting for a sentiment turnaround?
Well, I think certainly, the level of politics and I think the level of governance in India is something that people are concerned about. I think the amount of decision making or the amount of time for decision making, particularly in a sector like real estate, has been quite disappointing. And I think people are looking at the elections as a moment of change. And I don't think change necessarily means just, one party or the other. But a new party with a fresh set of ideas, with a new mandate from the people, I think is what's needed. And I do expect that to come about. I'm quite optimistic that
You're not worried about a hung parliament?
Of course, you have to be worried about that, and I think I am a little bit concerned about that. But I don't think that is the most likely outcome currently. I think there is a sense that people do want to change. There's a sense that I think will result in a government getting a reasonably strong mandate.
All right. So now back to business. When you joined the real estate business, and since becoming the CEO to now, what has been the high point? I mean, the most exciting part of this business?
Well, I think the good part about the real estate business is there's no shortage of excitement and no shortage of high points. Unfortunately, there's also no shortage of headaches and low points. But no, I think we're very happy with the way the business has grown over the last few years. We've gone from 5 or 6 years ago being nowhere near one of the largest developers in the country to now having a presence in every major real estate market in 12 cities across the country. We've done that, I think, through scaling our business in a very capital light manner by entering into joint ventures across the country. So I think one of the things we're most happy with now is that we've established ourselves as a player that does have a presence in various parts of the country and has a successful track record now in most of these regions. So I think that's been perhaps the thing I'm proudest of over the last few years.